The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Big Ben Haslar presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Haslar. Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we're hearing the case of the people versus Nebraska, a 2013
the state, the whole state.
Drama. No, it's a 2013 travel drama, if you would let me finish, about a father and his son's road trip to claim $1 million sweepstake prize.
Travel drama.
Travel drama.
Yeah, it is a genre. We have established that. A travel adventure.
Travel adventure, damn
This
it.
is a travel drama, though.
So not as much adventure, just as much traveling.
But for those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, as those in the jury clearly aren't, you're here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of reasonable doubt that the film is guilty. Mr. Galen Howard, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor and people of the jury. I come before you today to prosecute the particular work of a filmmaker whose career I find beguilingly fascinating and much of it enviable. We have the work of the person in question, Alexander Payne, a director who began with the biting now dated satires, Citizen Ruth and Election, and then segueing into deceptively meandering films about characters floundering in various stages of arrested development and male decline. Such as Sideways, The Descendants, and a film I still personally defend about Schmidt, which then brings us to 2013's Nebraska, in which this deception is turned back on us, giving us a film that disguises itself as a deep reflection on fathers and sons, the decaying Midwest family hierarchy and mythos, and general mortality. But at further look feels like a discarded Garrison Keillor story acted out by the amateur residents of Lake Wobegon. Thank you.
Where's Lake
Thank you,
Wobegon?
Mr. Howard. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Beer Ain't Drinking Ryan Luis Rodriguez. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you. Case dismissed.
Oh, already?
I come here today to praise Alexander Payne. I have been aboard the Payne Express since 1999 when I first saw his second directorial effort, Election, on VHS. I was only 13 and kind of a dumbass, so I didn't really understand it on a tremendous level, but I knew even then that he had made something special. 3 years later, I found myself in the theater with my father watching his third film about Schmidt, and we both had a glorious time. 2 years after that, Sideways, which I saw in the theater and fell in love with Sandra Oh, Payne's then wife. They have now since divorced, so maybe she's available. 7 years after that, The Descendants, which drove me to note that you can dress George Clooney like John Lasseter, but it doesn't make him any less sexy. Then 2 years after that, the film up for argument today, Nebraska, the first film he directed but did not have a hand in writing. I remember being somewhat impressed, but hadn't thought about it in the intervening decade until being drafted to provide its defense in this court of movie law. And upon watching it again, images began flooding into my cerebral cortex. Despite my memory issues, it turns out that I remembered a great deal. And now that I'm a decade older and certainly not wiser, I can appreciate its more understated, patient tone. Nebraska isn't about Nebraska. We don't even get there until the last 25 minutes of a 115-minute runtime. It's about America. The cultural divides that separate us, the quiet things we share that unite us. different eras clashing and ultimately bonding, a father and son that gradually begin to understand one another in the face of defeat and failure, making something transcendent out of that pain. I'm not going to argue that Nebraska is Payne's magnum opus, but it is his most gorgeous film, his most deeply felt and emotional. And even if I prefer Election or About Schmidt, it's something that I can see myself returning to multiple times in the future, depending on how many years I have left. There are a lot more movies I need to see first. Anyway, Nebraska, Innocent.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. And you will refer to it as the Payne train from here on out. Mr. Galen Howard, you may present your first exhibit.
Thank you. The first exhibit comes simply down to the script itself. As Mr. Rodriguez pointed out, the film was the first that Payne did not write himself. It was a script written by one Bob Nelson, his first feature, and to date his only feature of produced feature of note. He would later 3 years later produce and direct a film on his own that it's called something. I don't even remember, and no one does. Put that together. So yes, Bob Nelson gives us this little sweeping, you could call it more, if you have like a whittled push broom. It attempts to sweep images across the screen, such as Bruce Dern shuffling about in various stages of confusion. He aims to show us the last vestiges of a relationship between a father and son, but really this relationship, the family hierarchy, the pallid, flimsy through line of a confusion about a $1 million reward really could all be, you could sum all of it up in about a 10-minute short film, or even a 60-second bank commercial. It's there is nothing there that there's nothing there that over the time of the film is revealed about the characters, that is revealed about their relationships, that really gives us anything to hold on to. These characters are all set in their ways, void of redemption, void of introspection. There's really we're put in the in the driver's seat of Bruce Dern's son, David Grant, played by Will Forte, and who is throughout the film so much of a relentless sad sack that you find yourself just wanting him to get on with his life and to chalk up what little was left of their relationship, and for God's sake, get out of the room whenever June Squibb opens her mouth. Oh my God, I will save that for later. But yes, thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal about the script? How many pages do you think it was, and how many notes did it hit?
I believe it was 197. I don't know. I have no idea. To say that this is shallow or doesn't have any like points of redemption, I kind of call bullshit on that. I think the last 10 or 15 minutes of Bruce Dern finally kind of not breaking down, but at least admitting that it's this whole thing with so let's address, he gets a Publishers Clearinghouse notice saying that he might be a millionaire if his number has been called up. And he supposedly throughout the film looks at this as an actual offer, whereas Will Forte's character dismisses it as spam, which it is. And the whole journey is him getting to Nebraska to claim his prize. But at the very, very end, he kind of reveals that he's a small man. He's been broken down by society. He's been broken down by life. He's had a rough shake. He was always a decent person going up. He was always willing to help other people, and they all seem to take advantage of him. They all claim that he owes them money, even though There's no proof in fact that he actually did. But then he kind of admits at the very end that all he wants is to have a raise in status. All he wants is a new truck. And his son is willing to give up his own car for him because it's basically the one relationship in his life that he can still salvage. And the fact that he does, and it does give Bruce Stern's character a moment of redemption in the end when he gets to sit in the driver's seat and pass by the paper that was run by the girl that used to be his girlfriend in high school some 60 years before. I think it's one of the most poignant moments of the entire film, and it's definitely building up to that point. So to say that there's no redemption, or to say that this is shallow, or that this could fit into a narrow time frame, I dispute that.
Mr. Howard, do you have a rebuttal to that, or would you like to proceed with your next exhibit?
Yeah, I would like to touch on that, because I feel that this this moment of him admitting what he wants at the end is really far little too late. I mean, what we're really invested in here is the relationship between the father and the son, and throughout he just is telling him it's fake. His older brother, played by Bob Odenkirk, Ross, also insists that this is a sham. It feels like the whole through line of pinning it on this sweepstakes is it's just an excuse to get to rile up the past, and to get these people talking to each other, when really these are children who just are in arrested development and just need to move on with their lives. And so at the end, when he talks about this value of status, when he talks about the when at the end he relinquishes his truck, he and gives him a hat from the sweepstakes.
He won that hat.
Gives him the goddamn hat. I would have taken the seat cushion personally, especially when I'm in my 80s. For fuck's sake,
I'm team seat
protect your
cushion.
butt.
A good hat.
But
I like that hat.
Order in my court, please. Let the prosecutor proceed.
Protect the butt. Protect the butt. Anyway,
All right, we're gonna clip that.
Order your reels of justice seat cushions on our site.
Ooh,
Not
those
really,
would be
they don't
sweet.
exist.
Those
with
would be
Bruce
cool.
Stern's face, yes, please.
Oh, jeez.
Park your butt right there.
Dern would love that.
Oh yes, the Dern butt. Anyway, there's so little to pin it on at that point, and it really all falls apart at that point. It's really all again far too little, too late.
Would you like to proceed to your next exhibit?
Yes, I absolutely would. My next exhibit is the shockingly somehow heralded performance of June Squibb playing the mother, Kate Grant. She was somehow nominated for an Oscar for this shrill one-note performance, and I'm sure people are going to say, oh yes, but that's like my grandma, and it's just like my grandma, just like my mom. It's like, well then great, go spend an afternoon with your grandmother. She's far more deserving. I'm sure she's far more deserving of the attention than this terrible performance.
I would if I could.
Of just saying every time she opens her mouth, it's to complain. There's at the very end you have a slight you have a slight moment of tenderness between them at the hospital, but again it's far too little, too late, and the way that she pushes herself, it's as though she's playing to the backseat of a church playhouse. It's embarrassing, especially, my goodness, the token reminiscing scene at the graveyard, which quote unquote climaxes when she lifts up her skirt to waggle her nethers at the gravestone of someone she found to be just kind of boring, and is like, well, if you didn't shut up, we could have, we could have boned, so here's my 80-year-old vagina, and which is just
no, that's the
it's
clip.
just begging for a laugh, and it's just a moment that plays so false and is just begging for our attention, and it's just these moments like this throughout that are just kind of pushing this kind of folksy humor in your face in a way that just completely just rings flat like a dead cowbell.
That's how my grandma got banned from the cemetery.
Are cowbells alive? Can they be killed?
No, they're not.
A dead cat, like, it doesn't.
Yeah, and when they're played under the direction of Christopher Walken, they are.
Mr. Rodriguez,
was she nominated for supporting? Was she nominated for supporting?
Was.
Supporting,
yes,
okay.
Was this an award-winning performance, Mr. Rodriguez? And where's the depth and nuance?
Well, award-winning, no, because she didn't win, but award-nominated, yes, for sure.
Award considered.
I love Kate. I adore her. I think she's a total battle axe, but she has legitimate grievances against her husband, even though she clearly still adores him, even if she's too gruff to ever admit it. But speaking of what Galen said, oh, she reminds me of your grandmother. She reminds me of my great aunt, who I can't spend time with because she's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
But she was so full of life in her twilight years, kind of bucking against tradition and making her voice heard, even if nobody else wanted to hear it. And I absolutely adore this performance. I don't think that she's annoying in the slightest. Anytime she opens her mouth, I instinctively start laughing, even before words have come out of said mouth. And I start looking forward to every single time she pops up in the narrative. And I could not disagree more passionately. I absolutely adore Kate.
Did you ever visit a cemetery with your great aunt?
I did not. I visited her cemetery, if that's a similar thing. But as I illustrated, she's dead, so I can't visit anything with her anymore. And thanks for bringing that up, Galen. Thanks for bringing all these terrible emotions.
Let's move on. Let's move this pain train on. Mr.
I would
Howard,
like the record to show that I have had nothing to do with the death of what I assume is a beautiful woman and Ryan Rodriguez's aunt.
We can only try cinematic crimes here if you had, so you'd be safe there.
Jesus.
What is your next exhibit, Mr. Howard?
So I've covered the script, June Squibb's performance, and then broadly speaking, the character, the characters themselves. We have, again, I touched on Will Forte's character David Grant, who again we are he's basically the eyes and ears of throughout this film, and I both in the performance but mainly how the character is written in is a character who's ultimately self-pitying and never is really able to to take a stand with his mother or his father, or let alone his ex-girlfriend. He's someone a character we certainly see throughout the Pain-averse of these eternally emasculated men children, and often these these characters are moved into action or in such a way that we that give us some kind of thrust in the story, and in this case he is he is really our our driver's seat. The idea that Bruce Dern is the star is kind of a misnomer, because he's really more just something that happens to everyone else in the story. He's he's a character that that really doesn't that really doesn't derive our sympathy. He's so that is why we're we have to stay with David's character, who is so much of a who again is so paralyzed by his by his own fear of the world that that he can't even take us one step throughout the entire film, and is then just really all he can do is react to everything that his father does, which again is, would withhold a few scenes, and then that's great, and then we get everything we need to out of those scenes, and then we move on to an actual to an actual storyline. But this film never gives that to us.
Mr. Rodriguez, does this make up for MacGruber at all?
Well, you don't need to make up for MacGruber because MacGruber is awesome. But addressing that we don't have sympathy for these characters, that's a matter of perspective. But I also think that you don't need to sympathize with characters to enjoy a film or to realize its potential. Because if you look at as far back as Lawrence of Arabia, Lawrence is a piece of shit. And if you sympathize with him, especially at the beginning, then there's something wrong with you. But you can look at his journey and you could look at how it transforms him. And even if you don't say, wow, what a good guy at the end of that movie, it doesn't ruin it. And as for Will Forte's character being a man-child, I think that that's a little overblown. I think that he is just somebody who has a crisis of pride, and that he doesn't really have any, and he doesn't understand why. And it's something that kind of mystifies him, but at the same time, he doesn't think about it too hard. And that rings true to me. I can't speak for Mr. Howard. Well, actually, I can. He said it doesn't. So there you have that.
He spoke for himself.
But I enjoy these characters. I like what his son eventually brings out in Bruce Stern's character. I like the fact that he is basically a bull in a china shop without moving very much. He's very stationary, but at the same time, he tends to wreck anything that he's at the center of. And so I think that this, and as to whether or not this is a story, I don't think that it necessarily has to be. I think by calling your movie Nebraska and not Bruce Stern is looking for a lottery ticket, I think that, you're able to take in via osmosis what the movie's setting out to do. And I don't think necessarily it is a story. I think it's more a slice of life. It's a depiction of people in stasis. And I don't think you necessarily need a tacked on narrative to make that any more worthwhile.
Well, they charge by the letter on those marquees, so they wanted to make it short, I imagine. Mr. Howard, do you have a final exhibit, or would you like to rest?
The defense rests, Your Honor.
The defense
You're
is
not
resting.
defense.
Or sorry, the prosecution.
Yeah, whatever.
Our guests are always on the other side of the aisle.
I'm a very defensive person.
Apparently.
I'm
if you want to
offended,
defend the
so there
movie,
you
I
go.
can stop right now, buddy. I can
Tag
just give
team,
up.
switch sides. Mr. Rodriguez, you may present your first exhibit.
Sure. I want to talk for a moment about cinematography, and this is a long one, so strap in, because it requires a history lesson.
Oh, no.
When cinema began, black and white was not an artistic statement. It was simply the norm. Just like photography, color had not yet been developed. It wasn't until the advent of 3-strip Technicolor in the 1930s that things began to change. At that point, color was somewhat of a novelty, something that most studios could not afford, so it remained so until the 1950s, the mid-1950s, with the advent of television. The major studios at this time were trying to differentiate themselves from the boob tube to provide audiences with an experience that they could not receive in the privacy of their own homes, which leads to the proliferation of color on a grand scale and other amazing things like CinemaScope. By the 1960s, at least in America, everything was in color except for lower budget B pictures and from the occasional auteur holdout. Orson Welles famously said, "Show me a good color performance." Sam Fuller said, "Life is in color, but black and white is more realistic." Overseas, the Italian and French New Wave darlings preferred black and white, utilized for its aesthetic value. It wasn't until the 70s that American cinema began to reclaim black and white in a similar fashion. Peter Bogdanovich famously used the monochromatic backdrop with 1971's The Last Picture Show and 1973's Paper Moon. Woody Allen used it for the frankly problematic 1979 film Manhattan. Marty Scorsese used it for 1980's Raging Bull because color stock tended to fade, so it was less an aesthetic choice and more of an avoidance of sorts. By the time we get around to Alexander Payne choosing to shoot Nebraska in black and white in 2013, film had been all but completely jettisoned in favor of digital. Accordingly, Nebraska was in fact shot digitally. But here's the thing. There's no setting on a digital camera that can drain the color from a frame. It can only be done in post-production. So when cinematographer Feed and Papa Michael shot the picture, I don't even want to say film, even though it's simply a turn of phrase at this point, all he could see were images in color, which is amazing considering how phenomenal it looks, how it transforms everything in the frame. It straddles the line between Italian neorealism and the flash forwards of Better Call Saul, an elegant approach that compares favorably to a similarly photographed movie from 2012, Noah Baumbach's Francis Ha. Nebraska is now a decade old, but by looking at the images, I could swear it was actually 2 decades. There are textures here that truly pop, like the gray hairs on the scraggly scruff of Bruce Dern's chin, which is a weird thing to focus on, I'll admit. I don't know which film won Best Cinematography in 2013, but it wasn't Nebraska, and that's a goddamn shame.
Mr. Howard, do you have a rebuttal of a masterclass on how film is made?
No, Your Honor, I am not here to prosecute against the visuals. I'm here to simply prosecute against the lack of substance that they're holding up.
All right, point for Mr. Rodriguez. You had another exhibit, I believe.
I have one final exhibit. Yes. Alexander Payne is known for coaxing masterful performances from his acting ensembles. Just look at Citizen Ruth from 1996, one of Laura Dern's shining moments, kind of like her turn in Inland Empire, only funny. Look at 1999's Election, in which Matthew Broderick and especially Reese Witherspoon deliver performances that were unjustly ignored by the Academy, especially Witherspoon, who has never been better. 2002's About Schmidt marks Jack Nicholson's last true legendary turn. And with Nebraska, this all remains the case. This time he's working with Bruce Dern, Laura's father, coincidentally, a man who's been delivering consistently excellent, if not unheralded performances from the late 1960s, including 2 Hitchcock movies, Marnie and Family Plot. He received a nomination for Best Supporting Actor in 1978's Coming Home, but never really popped as a leading man despite his versatility. He even delivered a truly stunning performance in a forgotten movie that I adore, Silent Running, from 1970. In Nebraska, he's a broken down man. I don't even think I've seen him look so frail and fragile, and because I haven't seen him outside of movies for the last, decade and a half, I have no idea how much of that is acting. Clearly, it's essential to the character, but I don't know if Payne got him to do it that way or if it was just par for the course, and that's kind of remarkable. He doesn't say much in the film, mostly drifting across the frame or sitting in silence, his most frequent lines being, huh? What? It's kind of a magic trick of a performance, as I know the man is lucid. You can tell by the roles that he consistently chose at the age of 76, but what he might not entirely be. And if you can convince me that this character lives and breathes, you deserve commendation. We already addressed June Squibb. I had a whole paragraph on her that is completely pointless now. So I'll just move on to the last major performance. Will Forte, best known as a comedic performer, is completely solid here and demonstrates some tremendous chemistry with Dern. Their fraught relationship reminding me greatly of my own father, except the difference is that Forte is actually making an effort to communicate instead of sitting in frustrated silence. Nebraska, performances are good. Thank you. Case dismissed.
Not quite yet. Mr. Howard, you focused on the mom and the son in your exhibits. Do you have a rebuttal for the father?
Again, I think Bruce Dern is truthful in his performance. I think the character that he's given to portray is simply ill developed. It's a character that that could be described on a sticky note and placed on the back of their decades-old refrigerator. Bruce Dern is one of my favorite actors, dating back to the days of Smile and The King of Marvin Gardens, and I think he is he deserves praise for being able to to lift himself above the above the paper thin plot and characters. But it does not save this movie.
Oh man, Smile. Galen, I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for bringing up Smile. Can we talk about Smile instead?
That movie wasn't even all that
Yes, Your Honor.
scary. Smile? Yeah, it's a horror movie. Ryan.
It's a different Smile, Your Honor.
I got confused as well for a second. Thank you, Mr. Person in the jury. All sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Howard, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. People of the jury, again, I have impressed upon you, my feelings of film that do not reflect my feelings about the filmmaker Alexander Payne. I wish only better material for him, maybe next time when you have a really a really compelling conversation over several beers and someone hands you a script, take a couple more days. That's what I would say to Mr. Payne. But to the jury, I say that this that the film before us attempts to give us a picture of America, or at very least the Midwest, but really only shows us floundering characters in stasis that take us nowhere from the beginning to the end. And we have. If we're going to have non-dynamic characters, there is a reason. There has to be a reason for it. And this, by the end, the reason films give us is a used car and a hat, and that, my friends, does not add up. Thank you.
I like that hat.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Rodriguez, you may present your closing argument.
If we're just going by cinematography, Nebraska is completely innocent of the charges made against it, whatever those stupid charges happen to be. I don't know. I wrote this argument before the actual trial, so maybe I'll contradict things I've said over the last half hour. Who knows? Who cares? Nebraska is a great film, one that is so beautiful that even if it was a shallow Midwest exploitation hit piece, as some have alleged erroneously, I might be inclined to forgive it. But I mostly appreciate it for what Alexander Payne is bringing to the table, for providing a reclamation project of sorts for performers like Bruce Dern, who have never gotten their proper due despite delivering at the peak of their abilities for more than 5 decades, for shooting its American environments with such an accomplished eye, finding the beauty in disrepair, the art in everyday mundanity, where the interior of a dive karaoke bar looks as spectacular as Mount Rushmore from a mile away. Payne is one of the most interesting filmmakers we have currently working, and we must support people who are interesting, who have something to say and say it well without telegraphing, who trust their audience to bring their own experiences to the table. Nebraska is not his best film, but it's what we got, and that's enough for me. Thank you, case whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I, too, have been told I look good from a mile away. Members of the jury, Mr. Bangs, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, you have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict. I once got offered a Nobel Peace Prize, but everyone knows that's the world's biggest scam. Took this rock-solid bailiff job instead.
For attempted chemistry. Oh, come on.
What is that? Okay, everybody, it's me, Schlenzo D, the foreman. Want to get that established?
We know we're in the room.
I thought you were Vitamin D.
Is Vitamin D my foreman character? I don't know.
Oh, no,
Bobby, send us a message. All right. So, interesting case. I got to say, both guys kind of hit. Like, Galen really did a good job of pointing out the stuff I didn't like about the movie, and Ryan did a good job of pointing out the stuff I did like about the movie, and I appreciate his history lesson about the black and white, because to me, I think that's the elephant in the room when you're starting watching this movie. It's like, why did you do it in black and white? So I thought Ryan did a good job addressing that. But Maynard, I'd like to hear from you.
I don't know. I didn't think Ryan's explanation of the black and white satisfied me.
Interesting. Why
and
not?
the direct. Well,
I was kind of wondering specifically why this film. I mean,
right.
I guess it does harken to like it's not quite finished, so like it was sort of like the old technology at one point in time, which I guess is Bruce Dern's not quite finished.
Yeah, because like I said, it's digital, right? So it's not film, so it doesn't look as gorgeous as black and white film does, for sure. And the director, at least when I read quotes from him, never gave me a satisfactory reason for doing it. He said he wanted it to look more iconic. So it's completely an aesthetic thing, but it
does look good though.
It's like a shallow aesthetic thing. Now, if he had said, "Oh, I want it to be sort of dim because, that's what Dern sees the world around him as," or Nebraska's so goddamn dull that there's no color anyway, so he did black and white.
Actually, it was shot in color. You just didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Those are things that would have satisfied me, and instead, it comes off as pretentious. And that's all I really think of the black and white. It's just pretentious, just like indie movies are black and white, so we're black and white. So the black and white is something that I did not like, and it never really satisfied me. But I agreed with Ryan on a lot of other things. I liked June Squibb. I agree, she's super big. And I think we'd all agree that we all know some grandma who's like that. Or some great aunt. God rest her soul. But I will give Galen credit. I do think that the flash at the cemetery that's a step too much, especially for a woman who's so judgmental of other women, right?
Yeah, that was.
If they would have got it just like 2 seconds earlier, would have been fine.
Yeah, and
that's
I think
step too far.
Galen nailed it too. Like it came across as desperate too. Like it didn't come across as funny. It came across as desperate for a laugh.
Yes.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, which is weird because I know this movie is just, besides us describing it as a travel drama, it's also described as a drama comedy. I see very little comedy in this. There are comedians in it.
Oh, well, they're stealing the air compressor.
There's funny moments. And I'll give it. There are some funny moments, some funny lines, but many dramas have that. Shakespeare had tons of dramas and tragedies that still had some comedy in it. So this doesn't fall to me as a comedy at all.
So, what do you guys think about Galen's point about there being no real arc? Like he said, this literally could have been a commercial. I'm inclined to agree, but I'd like to hear what you guys say.
I don't know that I quite appreciate where it went, because I know a lot of people love that sort of thing, like, oh, looking back on life and, oh, did my life have meaning and that sort of thing. The fact that like the guy's eventual victory is superfluous, like the son had to trade in his car for that truck. I know some people find that heartwarming and kind of the point, but I just kind of find that as, well, wait a minute, this actually did end up nothing, just like Will Forte's character will end up to be nothing. They're all dust in the wind. I know, again, that's the point, but it didn't really drive anything home to me as far as what the movie is trying to convey to me.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty sad that he's driving a truck to impress people he doesn't like and don't like him. I mean, it's like, I don't know if we were supposed to find that sad or if we were supposed to be like pump our fists like, yeah, stick it to him by driving that truck.
I think
through
the latter,
road,
but yeah, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, to me it just felt kind of sad. It's just like, man, poor guy, this is it, like, and it's like Ryan said,
his whole life is just
it's been his whole life. His whole life has been that, which is kind of sad, which I guess it's supposed to be, but there's there's not really an elevated moment to cap it off. Even if there's a moment to just punctuate how sad it is, it's not really delivered that way. You know what I mean? So
it brought him pride, and where it's good and pleasure, and wherever we can find that, I think there's nothing wrong with that. We are all doing things to impress people that we don't like. So
I'm on a podcast, guys.
Yeah, like I think also the moment is, what Ryan talked about is this is way more about Forte coming closer to his father, who you can tell he always cared, but there was a distance, and he really did get to bond with him throughout the film, to the point where he was able, he gave up something he liked for his father. Granted, he still gets to keep a truck. And so I think there is an arc. I think Ryan mentioned, a film doesn't need a story. To me, this isn't a snapshot. There's growth. The relationship between Bruce and Will is not the same at the end as it is in the beginning. And also, I think it was mentioned that a little too late for June Squibb. I thought June Squibb had a tremendous number of tender moments. There's moments you see where this family is together, like after they steal and then return the compressor and are just riding in the car, satisfied. They're a total unit. They are together, the four of them. And you can see the family there. Her sticking up for Bruce Dern to the other relatives, saying, leave that poor man alone. Her tender kiss in the hospital. So it is obvious she has a lot of care for her and her sons. She has a brash sort of exterior. We all know somebody like that. But
I do
think there is an arc there, positively.
All right, Big Ben, any final thoughts before we start locking it in?
No, I think I can lock in. As far as who I agreed with more, I do kind of agree with what you said at the beginning. There are points I felt very strongly on both sides. This is a film that isn't meant for me. So still, I do think the script is flimsy. I don't think that there's much there, but the performances are good in the way that they bring that to life. I think mostly with the three leads. So that'll be a point in its defense. I don't get the black and white. But I do agree that the cinematography makes up for it. So I'll give it to that. So I will end up with not guilty.
Very good. Thank you, Big Ben. Mr. Maynard Bangs.
Well, normally I'd say this is not a movie for me. But I'm such a tremendous there are no robots, but I'm such a tremendous Will Forte fan and Bob Odenkirk fan, although Bob didn't really get to do much.
And Will didn't get to be as funny as we know he's capable of being, but
and I don't know that I love Will in the role. Like, again, that's another point to like the pretentiousness. It's got that same Wes Anderson stink all over it, where it's like, I'm going to take comedy actors and make them do drama. Ooh, comedians are better at drama than real actors. I don't care for it. There's a million actors who could have done this better than Will. I think Ryan used the word right. He's solid. He gets out of there just fine. But I don't think he was nominated for anything, but and he probably shouldn't have been. But stick to comedy, Will. Drama is not your forte.
Boo! Get out of my jury room. We need an alternate. We need an alternate.
Don't like the black and white. Don't love all the casting choices. I do think there's a pretension about it, but also I think that it is well acted otherwise by Squibb and Dern. And I think there is a story there, and I think even the characters would leave confused, not knowing why they did what they did. But I think that's life sometimes too. So I believe everything everyone did. I could see watching it again one day. I prefer to watch the color version, which apparently exists. But for me, I'm going to go not guilty.
Actually, I'm going to go guilty on this one. I know it's just like, this movie does not deserve its reputation, though. I mean,
I agree with that.
Does it have a reputation?
It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards.
It's tremendously well received, and I don't get that. I think you could get much better family dynamics in other movies, like Ordinary People, for example. Jesus. I know I'm always going to go back to that. Maybe it's an unfair standard, but I mean, that's what we're looking at here. And it's just like, I think I just ended up agreeing with Galen a lot more. I mean, Maynard, you came in when I was watching it, and I paused it, and I said, "Holy shit, there's an hour left."
I looked at my watch a lot during Act 2 as well, but Act 1 and Act 3 zipped right by, but Act 2 did drag.
Well, regardless, the verdict will be locked in as such. But I do want to say,
and by the way,
very good. Yes,
Gravity won the award for cinematography that year. I think we can all agree it deserves
great shots of Sandra Bullock in that movie. Hell yeah. All right, let's go out there and tell that very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Nebraska, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie. Boo!
Yeah, yay!
Well, Where are the Nebraska?
Very mixed reaction in this.
Were there cowboys in Nebraska? Or
No.
that's gambling?
The verdict is so rendered. Nebraska is free
That's
to go.
Nevada,
in
you
hopes that
idiot.
Oh, there's cowboys in Nevada?
No. Yes, though. Gambling cowboys.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Take it outside.
Neither do we.
Nebraska's free to go in the hopes that a spiritual sequel will be created. Maybe Wyoming starring Kate McKinnon and Dame Judi Dench. I'm just spitballing here, but let's make it happen. Court is adjourned.
I'd watch that. This is grumpy old Bruce Dern. I'm an actor, so anyone can be me. Galen Howard. What happened in there? I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Well, you didn't miss much, Bruce Dern. There was
What?
I attempted to shine a light against to show that the emperor was wearing no clothes, and I found that people just like to see Bruce Dern,
That's me.
Bare scrappy butt, just walking along the highways. So
I don't blame him.
Who needs pants?
Woo! Not wearing pants now. Whoever that guy was, thank you. What? You, Ryan, Luis, something. What did you think of whatever the hell they said in there?
Gravity deserved to win Best Cinematography. That's 60% CGI. That's not cinematography. It's done in a computer.
That's Sandra Bullock, though.
Yeah, bro, come on.
Boo.
All right, well, we're gonna get back there. I hope you two hippies get a couple of haircuts too. Go back there to that where are we going? Bruce Dern, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Wow,
He'll be sure to return. Yes.
Yeah. He probably won't remember he did this. Fun case. See,
Bruce Dern.
I don't I hadn't heard of this movie. I don't know why. I don't watch the Academy Awards, I guess, and that's all but I didn't realize it did get heavily nominated, and I agree with Ryan, the cinematography is not as good as Gravity. I mean, they went to space to shoot that. So, I mean, give them some award.
No, you didn't agree with me because I said the opposite, but that's okay. I'll let your drifting mind, I'll let that be an excuse.
Huh? Wait a minute. That's Bruce Dern.
That wasn't Rob Maynard.
So, Galen, what have you been up to lately? What's been keeping you busy?
Let's see. I'm an actor, and sometimes I act in things. Recently,
Fascinating.
I reprised a role in the Apple TV show Physical. So you can see me in that, and the premiere episode of season 3 coming out this sometime this summer.
All right, let's get physical. Have we had you
Yes,
on since
indeed.
you were
Let's
on Star Wars? I can't remember if you.
I
did.
did a Star
did.
War. I did a Star War. It's still. I think you can. I think you can still see that. In fact, I think that's. Yeah.
Yeah, they do save those episodes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only watch things in syndication on on an old black and white TV that I watch in Bruce Dern's closet. So
Yeah, get out of there, you hippie.
I want to see one of those Star Wars trading cards of your character, though.
Oh, I would totally get one of those.
Oh my goodness, Dream of Dreams. Yeah, I'm on the episodes 2 and 3 of Book of Boba Fett. Playing the second to the brilliant Dave Pasquazi's Major Domo, that was a lot of fun. So they were gracious enough to give me a little comic moment, a little comic turn in episode 2. So yeah, check that out.
I picture every stormtrooper under their helmet looks like you.
Well, yeah, you would only hope. I mean, and they're really, their grooming techniques are, not if Chewbacca is any example, can't be that great. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool, and we'll also be on the lookout for season 3 of Physical. And
please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
on Apple TV.
Yes, and then also a short circulating online called "What Wilderness Permits" is you can find that on YouTube, and I play a park ranger slowly losing his sanity, as his as he loses while he loses his job as the overseer of the forest, and it's pretty fun, and so please check that out.
All right, on YouTube. What YouTube, Wilderness Permits. Those wilderness permits are so
form
important.
of entertainment consumption, I realize, but
well,
true.
no, you're on YouTube, you're on Apple, you're on Disney Plus. Are you on Max anywhere?
It's just Plus now.
No, we all know.
Were you saying that is Cinemax or Mac computers?
Ooh, are you on a Cinemax?
On a lot of Mac computers.
I've watched a lot of Cinemax, I can tell you.
No, you gotta go where the heat is. You gotta be on Tubi.
Gotta get on Tubi. Absolutely.
This is true. Yeah. I'm more a freebie guy myself.
Freebie.
Yeah.
We love it. Now we
Freebie
always
breaks in the middle of sentences though, whereas Tubi is just like waits until people finish.
Yeah, like if Maury was on Freebie, like you are the goes to a commercial.
You're lower quality than
breaks
Tubi.
On those are just so fun. Yeah,
they are.
Now we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. So Galen, what is a movie that you think people should see?
Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me consult.
Will it help if Ryan goes first?
Yes.
Ryan,
let Ryan go first.
You're on the hot seat. What is
your first of two recommendations?
Your recommendation.
My recommendation this week is predictably unrelated to the case at hand, and that's a 2023 release called 80 for Brady. I am always surprised by movies like this that sneak up on you and provide 90 minutes of breezy fun infused with genuine emotion. But honestly, the real reason to watch this film revolves around the cast. 4 iconic ladies of the silver screen, Sally Field, Rita Moreno, Lily Tomlin, and Jane Fonda, all together again for the first time. Sure, it's inexcusable propaganda for the NFL and Tom Brady, but it's at least enjoyable propaganda, the best kind. Plus, I saw it with an audience that was 98% older ladies, and they were having a ball. Perfect theatrical experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend. 80 for Brady is currently streaming on Paramount Plus.
You know, most propaganda tends to be enjoyable. That's like one of their successful points, just to entertain. Just mentioning that. So,
yeah,
not like Ryan, documentary boring propaganda doesn't tend to go very far.
Yeah, Ryan is very red-pilled though, so you can see right through the propaganda and still enjoy it.
I see.
Yes.
Galen, you're back on the hot seat. Now you got to go.
Thank you.
80 for Brady.
Recommendation. I love hot seats. What can I say?
Bruce Dern seat cushion. That's what you're sitting on.
Oh, thank you.
Reels of Justice sponsored.
I can feel his hot nose just pointing up into my rectum.
It's not his nose.
Stop saying that.
Oh boy. He flipped over. Bruce Dern. My recommendation is a forgotten little indie from 2001. Just a lovely romantic comedy called Jump Tomorrow, starring TV on the Radio's Tunde Adebimpe in one of his only feature starring roles, and it's an incredibly endearing story. He plays an office worker, a kind of a timid office worker who is about to go into is preparing to leave for an arranged marriage that his families have put together, and is then through a series of
unfortunate events
of random meetings and occurrences, finds his finds a true connection with someone and a true set of friends, and experiences a kind of a kind of personal awakening, and it's done with just with such a genuine levity and you know, and kind of and a non-sentimental whimsy that just really it's it's a kind of film that while I don't personally go for a lot of romantic comedies, this has such a breeziness about it that that you can't help but just fall in love with it from minute opening to closing. And so please check out Jump Tomorrow from 2001. Great date movie, or lonely sobbing in your underwear on the couch movie. I don't know, that wasn't me, I swear.
Jump Tomorrow, responsible for a lot of suicides, I heard.
Well, yeah, that's the whole idea, is that it's not today, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just put it off to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, Jump Tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Unsentimental Whimsy is also on my
sweet.
business card.
That was the name of my my groove metal band in college.
I thought it was the original name of our podcast.
Non-sentimental whimsy. Big Ben, what kind of non-sentimental whimsy do you have for us?
My recommendation also doesn't have much to do with today's defendant, other than maybe a theme of keeping the aging and forgotten in public conscious. But nevertheless, I'm going to go with the latest anime to come out of Japan, which is Makoto Shinkai's Suzume. Suzume is a film that echoes the 3/11 earthquake and tsunami that obliterated large sections of the country, causing some places to be rebuilt and other places to be completely abandoned and forgotten. And I think to some extent, the depopulation of the country, as well as people move out of the countryside and into the cities. It's a beautiful film using hand-drawn animation, which is one of the few places Japan is that still does that. We do CGI animals nonstop here, but Japan still keeps that art form alive, bless them. It's the same team behind Your Name, another film worthy of your time. But if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of the same look and feel and similar themes as well, so they make a great double feature together. The only thing that you won't be able to swallow, or maybe you will, is that one of the characters gets transformed into a sentient chair. So if you can take that, then the film is great. It's
not Bruce Dern, is it?
A sentient chair walking around. The film ain't for you. Suzume is in theaters as of this recording. It's distributed by Crunchyroll, so I believe it will pop up there eventually.
Love that chair. Gotta love that chair.
Crunchyroll would be a great one too. Yeah, I know, but Crunchyroll would also be a good one. Very delicious. Anyway, Ben, I can't really make any tsunami jokes, so you've won this round.
You can make suicide jokes, but not tsunami jokes. I see how
it's like dead ant
I know. I don't want to get.
What can I do?
I'm gonna get a wave of emails if I do. So my recommendation is not related to our film today at all. But it was just the most recent offering I saw at the local cinema, 2023's Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin. After uncovering a hidden copy of the dreaded Necronomicon beneath their condemned apartment building, a family must combat the sinister conjurations that have taken hold of their mother, played by Alyssa Sutherland, who conveniently has like a really scary, stretchy demon face already. So I'm not sure if this entry is meant to be a sequel or a reboot, as nothing in it really contradicts any of the previous films or television series, but it tends to be more in keeping with the tone of the 2013 reboot than its 80s counterparts. I'm not sure how I feel about the Evil Dead franchise leaning more towards genuine horror than campy comedy, but at least it retains the gore and lore that makes it unmistakably Evil Dead. Either way, I had a great time and would recommend it to any fans of the series or genre, although it's very unlikely to be your favorite Evil Dead movie or to even crack the top 3. Evil Dead Rise is currently playing in your local cinemas, but if you're patient enough, I'm sure it'll be available to stream from the comfort of your home soon on, let's say HBO Max.
Yeah.
It's not HBO Max anymore. It's Max.
Oh, I dead named the streaming service. Oh no.
Oh no.
Here come the emails. Schlenzo,
do you have something with it? Come on. You got something with Nebraska. Home. Come on.
Okay, yeah, no, not even close. I'm recommending a movie directed by J. Lee Thompson. That's right.
Who's from Nebraska?
He's from England.
Nebraska, England.
Yes, he was a cowboy. The Ambassador is a gripping political thriller and it is an absolute must-see for anyone who appreciates intelligent filmmaking and thoughtful commentary on international relations. Wink. Wink. I said wink. Released in 1984, the film tells the story of a seasoned American diplomat played by none other than Robert Mitchum, who is assigned to Israel as the conflict from that aforementioned country with the PLO is getting heated. The film's nuanced exploration of power and diplomacy is expertly crafted, and Mitchum's understated yet powerful performance anchors the story with a sense of gravitas and moral complexity. The supporting cast is equally strong, particularly Rob Maynard's main man, Rock Hudson, in his last theatrical debut role.
The great Rock Hudson.
Nope, that's not him.
It's Cary Grant, but close enough.
As a role he was born to play, Robert Mitchum's closest confidant and bodyguard. Reminds me a lot of like Race Bannon from Johnny Quest. But what really sets the Ambassador apart is its refusal to oversimplify or sensationalize the complex issues it raises. Wink. Instead, it presents a deeply thoughtful and nuanced portrayal of the challenges and trade-offs involved in that Middle Eastern conflict. For anyone interested in history, politics, or just some action, yes, Rock Hudson punches a lot of people. The Ambassador is an absolute gem that should not be missed. Streaming, tell them where it's streaming, everyone, all at once.
Max.
Freevee? You had one job.
Ooh,
No,
Freevee.
it is not free. It's streaming on Tubi.
Yes, you can see the great Rick Hudson.
Ugh.
All right, we have to find some way to connect this all to
Ryan, what would have been your
Nebraska.
on-topic recommendation?
I think Bruce Dern has a copy of the Ambassador too.
I tell you what, my on-topic recommendation is The Human Centipede 2, also shot in black and white for very pretentious reasons.
I love it. That's really what you should have done.
And Bruce Dern as a chair is in that one too.
Oh God,
He's the bottom of the centipede.
He's
can do everything.
He's centipede number 5. Yeah.
Technically, everyone's the bottom of the centipede. You don't want to be the end of the centipede.
My favorite.
You're
Lou
either the
Bega
front
song,
or the bottom.
My favorite Lou Bega song, Centipede number 5. And with that, we are all at a show, but we want to thank our guest, Galen Howard, for joining us. Thank you so much, Galen.
Thank you so much for having me again.
We love you, Galen. Come
love
back anytime.
having you on. And we hopefully will have you back again soon as well.
Indeed.
Bruce Dern is looking forward to it, and we hope everyone else.
Yeah, yes, he's telling me so from the from my chair as I speak. Pipe down, Bruce Dern. Ooh, that tickles.
We hope everyone else will join us again as well as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
I quit.
What?
Stop quitting, Ryan. He quits every week.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.